7th, 2016 meeting of the Mobile City Planning Commission. I'd like to take a moment to review our general operating procedures. Our meeting is divided into two sessions, the public hearing session and the deliberation session. In the public hearing session, an application or group application on the agenda is called. The applicant makes his or her presentation. Commission members may ask questions, if any, and members of the public may make their comments. Only 4 people may speak for an agenda item or project and 4 against. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes, subject to questions by the commission. After 4 minutes, a sound will indicate 1 minute left to speak, and at that point, we'd ask you to please summarize your comments. After all opposition speakers have finished, the applicant will be given time to respond. If you do intend to speak, please come to the podium, speak into the microphone, and give your name and address for our minutes. Please direct all comments to the commission only and not to the applicant or the audience. On routine applications, the applicant may simply raise his or her hand if there are no objections to the staff recommendations. I will then announce that the applicant is in full agreement with the conditions and recommendations. If there are any questions, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. After hearing all applications, the commission will go into deliberation session. In deliberation session, the commissioners discuss each application with input from the staff as necessary, but with no input from the audience. The commissioners then vote on each application. Results of the voting may be learned from the planning department at 208-5895. If issues arise during the deliberation session that were not addressed in the public hearing, the chairman has the discretion to either allow additional comments pertaining to those issues in order to resolve them, or call for the application to be held over for discussion at a future meeting. Occasionally, 1 or more commission members may recuse themselves from discussing and voting on a given application. A recusal does not necessarily mean the member is directly involved with the application or the applicant. Depending upon circumstances, ethical rules may require a recusal when there's only the slightest appearance of a conflict of interest. If a regular member recuses, a supernumerary will vote in their stead unless both supernumeraries are already voting due to absence. The Planning Commission makes final decisions subject to appeal on subdivisions, planning approvals, and plan unit developments. The Planning Commission only makes recommendations on zoning applications, with the City Council making the final decision. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please turn off or silence their cell phones. I'd remind Commission members and the staff to please use their microphones when addressing the Commission. At this time, we'll call the roll. Mr. Gant, Mr. Vallis.
Here.
Mr. Doyle, Ms. Sessions,
Here.
Ms. Andrews,
Here.
Mr. Amberger,
Here.
Mr. Daves,
Here.
Mr. Hembry,
Here.
Ms. Latham,
Here.
Ms. Denson, Mr. Cameron.
Here.
All right, due to absences today, Mr. Cameron, our supernumerary, will be voting on all items. I understand that Ms. Latham and Ms. Andrews are recused on item number 2. Are there any other recusals today? All right, with that, we will move to our agenda. We've got item number 1. This is a holdover of a, let's see, rezoning at 5550, 5560, 5580, 5590 Perry Road.
Jerry Bird, Bird Surveying Company for the owner. Yes, it was a month ago that we were here. The owner would like to rezone this property to B3 for auto sales. The staff report mentions the buildings along Perry Road that no longer exist. Those buildings, one of them was a convenience store, one's actually closest to the site. He's familiar with this site over the years. Yeah, the buildings are now gone before he purchased. The staff report talks about spot zoning. I think there's some of these around up there. This black is the site that we're talking about. All of the red is B3. This is B5. The green is in fact R3. And I1 over on the other side. So there's, and as you notice, B3 is south of us going down to Bellingraph Road. There's a variety of businesses in there, our business classifications. The railroad track, of course, everything along Highway 90 is some type of business. Railroad track, that's a business. It's privately owned by the railroad company. And it's right across the street from this. So we're basically adjoining business classifications. The staff reports talks about suburban corridor and the map of Mobile. The suburban corridor emphasizes connectivity to surrounding neighborhoods, and suburban neighborhood classification generally puts emphasis on residential as opposed to commercial, but it does recognize that commercial uses would be in the neighborhood. This development, as shown on the site plan, would have sidewalks on 2 streets. It'd be the start of something new there in this area. And your consideration for rezoning to B3 is appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Questions by commission members?
Jerry, a few weeks ago when you were here, this was actually a PUD and you've revised that, so you're no longer in need of that?
That's correct. Instead of the 2 buildings, just combine them into one. So PUD is not necessary for that.
Further questions? Let the record reflect Mr. Gant is present at this time. Is there anyone else here in support of the application for the rezoning on item number 1, 5550 Perry Road? Anybody here in opposition or have questions regarding this agenda item? Yes, ma'am, please come forward.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
I'm Mary Walker. I live 7099 Old Military Road in Theodore, Alabama. And just a few days ago, we saw the sign for rezoning. We had no knowledge prior to this of the rezoning. And we are opposed because of certain types of businesses that could come in under zoning of B3. I'm going to name you just a few. Adult bookstores, adult entertainment centers, commercial, solid waste stations. These types of things would be kind of detrimental to our neighborhoods. Since we live in a residential area that is across the railroad track, we are boxed. We cannot get out if there is an emergency. We already have the South Theodore Industrial Association with Evonik, with Phenol Chemical, and all at our backs. So the reason we are opposing because we have Retief Oil been trying to get the rezoning of that area 50 feet away from the school. It's less than 50 feet. So we are opposing this because of these reasons. Our children walk that area to the middle school and the high school. They have to cross right in that area. So trafficking would be a problem, as well as if you put something there that is contaminant. Because if you rezone it, there is no way we can tell what will come in the future. If something is contaminant, then it is detrimental to the children that are walking, as well as the residents that are riding. And therefore, we oppose from the Theodore community of the rezoning of this from R1, which is a residential area, to a B3, a business district.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Questions by commission members?
Staff, just so I'm clear, it's for the staff. I'm sorry, Ms. Walker. Thank you. Is the maintenance garage, is that a requirement for B3? Do they not operate that in a lesser category?
It would require a minimum of B3. I'm sorry?
Yeah, for maintenance garage versus auto sales.
quick lube place could occur in B2, as long as it doesn't go beyond that. The auto sales requires B3. One point I would like to make regarding the speaker in reference to adult entertainment, while it is allowed in B3, there are some very specific spacing requirements which it would not meet, could not meet in this area. One of the first ones is it has to be at least 1,000 feet from residentially zoned property. So it wouldn't meet that. It has to be at least 1,000 feet away from a school or church. I'm not sure how far Burroughs Elementary is from this particular site, but it would be close to that 1,000 feet as the crow flies. But that was what I needed to address with regard to that.
Just so I'm clear on the use again, because you mentioned auto sales and quick lube, exactly what's being proposed for this application?
Auto sales,
Auto sales, and it's just got maintenance for those.
yes. And the auto sales is what requires B3.
Okay.
Any further questions? The applicant would like to respond? Is there anyone else here in opposition or wanting to speak in connection with this? Yes, sir. Please come down.
My name is Robert Walker. I'm a resident of Thittle, and I live at 7099 Old Military Road. And I'm opposing this because of the nature when they come. This already been on the agenda. Why wasn't the community notified of this change in rezoning? Only time we found was on last Thursday to inform the community that this was going to be rezoned. We didn't know anything about it. Why wasn't we contact and let us know that they're actually to rezone? There is a church probably less than 1,000 feet from it. It's a church. And I've been in this community all my life but 6 months. And I know the area. And where he tore the place down, that was a store, which was a grocery store, my first job. That was a post office and other residents. There was no other business was in there but the grocery store and the post office and the railroad track. And we'll be blocked in if anything happens in our area. We have to go Bancroft Highway south, west, or cross the railroad track. There's no other way we can get out. So we don't want this type of industry in our community. Why not bring some friendly business in our area? Friendly business that we can say, okay, we got a drugstore, a grocery store, but it seems like everything now is something that the community do not want, which business want to bring into our area. So I'm opposed of rezoning because of those reasons. And I see on this agenda that they recommend for denial, and I thank you all if you deny the request of rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Questions by commission members? Thank you, sir. Anyone else needing to speak in opposition to item number 1 on our agenda? Mr. Byrd, the applicant like to respond?
I don't think the owner is looking to harm the neighborhood. I haven't talked to him about self-restrictions of uses. And he's not here today, I don't think. We could, if you want to, hold it over again, go down a list and submit that as not just adult entertainment, but we could take out probably other things that he wouldn't want next door to him or in his neighborhood. as stated by the last gentleman, Mr. Walker, there was a store there, there was a post office inside that store, I think, is what it was, but that was all prior to becoming part of the city of Mobile. And now this needs to be zoned, but there is a history of business at this area of Perry Road.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. We'll take it up in deliberation. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are here in opposition, what Mr. Byrd is talking about is that an applicant for a rezoning may come in with that application and voluntarily agree that the rezoning would not allow a laundry list of items. So even though, as Ms. Walker pointed out, there's a whole list of things that could happen in B3, the applicant might come in and ask the staff or ask the city to allow him to rezone it, but only to rezone it for a small number of the items on that list of things he might do. In this case, he may restrict himself to doing things only with respect to a car dealership or something along those lines. And that would prohibit any other use until somebody came back before this commission and asked for a change of that zoning limitation. And so what the applicant is asked to do is hold this over, which means we'll probably push it out 2 to 4 weeks to allow him to meet with the applicant and talk to him about what of those items on that list of B3 uses he would be willing to give up and not have at that particular location. Whether that holdover is granted or not will be decided by the commissioners here in our deliberation session. It may be that they don't agree to hold it over and they deny it today, or they may decide to hold it over and allow the applicant the opportunity to come in and show you people and people in opposition to it a list of categories that would be allowed and a list of categories that would not be allowed. And a determination could be made at that point as to whether that's something that the commission and the neighborhood could agree is allowed in on that particular piece of property. So we will take up his request to hold it over during our deliberation session, but I wanted you to understand what he had asked and what the process was for considering that. Yes, sir.
While he's coming forward, Richard, could you address, there was a notification concerns that were raised. Can you address that?
Yes, sir. The zoning ordinance requires notification of property owners within 300 feet of the property in question. Mr. Hoffman looked at the list of names and addresses. There were a few on Cary Hamilton Road that were notified. Most of the other property owners within that 300-foot radius do not live in the area. The notices were sent to the address of those owners where they live or their business. So there were only a few of the immediate residents notified, but there was a sign posted on the site.
Okay, thank you. And folks, we normally would not take speakers out of order, but because this is a little bit unique, I will allow this gentleman to make his comment. Go ahead.
My name is Cleveland Price, and I live at 7045 Bowers Lane. What we're concerned about is this. If you rezone this business for B3, Riff Oil or any other company wants to come there and build something there, then that will open the door for them, wouldn't it? That's what we're saying. So the reason why we're not against a car lot if it was B3, but when you're dealing with stuff that's not good for the community, that's what we're concerned about. If you open the door, everybody's gonna walk through it. So
Yes,
we
sir.
don't want to open the door, period. So if we could get for sure that if you open the door for a car lot, nothing else can come in except those things, then it would be fine. But if the door is open, who's gonna close it?
Yes, sir. Point's well made.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, with that, we're going to move to,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
yes, sir.
Should the commission choose to hold this over as requested by the applicant's representative, maybe the commission could recommend that the applicant hold a meeting with the community prior to coming back before the commission.
We'll certainly take that up. Thank you, sir. We'll move to item number 2. This is the holdover of a subdivision and plan unit development application for 3945 and 3949 Government Boulevard. I note Ms. Andrews and Ms. Latham have recused. Is the applicant present? Applicant's present. Applicant in agreement with all the staff recommendations and conditions. The applicant's indicated he's in agreement with the staff recommendations and conditions. Is there anyone here needing information on item number 2, or who is here in opposition to item number 2? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Elaine Jajikas, and I represent the citizens organization Southern Skyline Community. Our organization encompasses the area from I-65 to Demetropolis Road and the entire Highway 90 corridor. It started out with the idea of being concerned more about beautification and just getting the area to look better all the way around. It's been a rather neglected area of the city, and great efforts have been made with the city. Can you hear me?
Can we turn that up a little bit, Richard, or we got any way to manage the PA? Okay.
This is our first meeting.
Mr. Jikas, if you give us just a minute, please. We're having some trouble hearing you. Try that again.
Can you hear this now? Is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you,
Start
Richard.
over? Okay. I'm Elaine Jajikas, and I represent the Southern Skyline Community. It's a citizens organization that encompasses the area from I-65 to Demetropolis Road, all of Highway 90. Our biggest concern from the beginning was beautification, the types of businesses that have been put in and never updated as far as landscaping, signs that are flying, and everything else that's gone on in the area, as well as motels of questionable repute. We became aware of the proposed gas station and car wash facility that wanted to go into the area. And of course, the biggest concern was how would that affect the safety of the area with automobiles in and out. It's a very busy intersection. It's also a very prime location for something very wonderful to go in there that would enhance the community in terms of what the needs are for the citizens and the people that go through that area. Highway 90 is the final way out when people are leaving Mobile, and so of course the last impression they get of what they see on Highway 90 is what they leave Mobile with. So all of those things became of concern to us. We have had a meeting with the developer and his team, and we wanted to come together in a spirit of camaraderie and cooperation and to work as good neighbors so that we could continue to develop that area to look much better than what it does now. After meeting with them, we explained to them our thoughts about safety and entrances and that type of thing, the design of the building that would enhance that area, and also the beautification of the landscaping program. It seems like we see more trees and everything else, oak trees being planted, and those are very difficult to maintain anymore. So we've proposed some other things to work with them on. They have been very cooperative, and I think we did really well with our meeting and are pleased with what came out of that. This is our really last chance to do something really great for that location, and whatever goes in there right now is going to be present for the next 40, 50 years, so it's very important of what we put in there, what you approve. We've taken a survey of the residents of the area, and as long as it's landscaped properly and constructed with some type of design that would be attractive for the area and to enhance that part of Mobile, we would support that.
Thank you, Mr. Jikas. Questions by commission members? Yes, Mr. Daves.
I just want to, my understanding is that you're amenable to the design that's proposed by the developer. Is that correct?
We saw a revised plan of what some of the specifications were that the city required, and so that seemed fine. And we have not seen a design of the building because they haven't gotten that far yet.
Right.
But the landscape proposal that we came up with, maybe add some palm trees instead of oak trees and a lot of blooming plants, that would be very, very much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
It's just now we're hoping for the design of the building to have some flair to it. It just needs some pizzazz up there. Thank you. Any other questions?
Other questions? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else here needing to speak with respect to item number 2, the subdivision and PUD for 3945 Government Boulevard? Applicant need to speak in response? All right, thank you. We'll move to item number 3. This is a holdover of the Plan Unit Development and Planning Approval application for the north side of Halls Mill Road at Rochelle Street. Yes, sir. Eddie?
Don Williams, speaking in behalf of this application. This is the old Independent Methodist School, IMS School on Halls Mill Road. Many of you familiar with where that school was. It was started in the 1960s, and it ended classes there in about 2005. So it's been vacant for 10, 11 years. An opportunity has risen for a purchase of that school. The gentleman who would like to purchase that would like to, has a daycare facility, Rainbow Child Care at Holcomb Avenue, which already has about 200 children there on a regular basis, and some satellite facilities also. He would like to move part of his operations here to be able to expand on into ultimately the vision, starting off with first grade, going on up and adding a grade per year to getting up and toward the high school areas. So to go back and recreate in a Christian atmosphere, a church-based type school, whether it be a charter school, whether it be a faith-based school, whether it be some type of private school, that is all to be determined based upon the growth and the acceptance that is generated by this facility. There are now 4 buildings on that site. There's an administration building in the front, which has 9 classrooms. It has 5 offices for administration. There's a gymnasium right behind that, which has 9 more classrooms. There are 2 other separate buildings. That would be a phase 1 situation, gearing back up for the administration building, gearing back up for the gymnasium building. 2 other buildings exist behind that, which are going to be held in reserve for the moment. Those would be as the older classes growing up. That traditionally held their middle and their high schools, and those would be phase 2 and 3 to move those forward. There are also 2 athletic fields there, 2 baseball fields and a football field. There are lights there for the football field. We are not proposing to turn those on or use that football field for any time in the near future. We would come back to this body for a request for that. We would like to be able to use daytime use for the baseball fields and the football for soccer, to rent those out. I think there's some soccer leagues that actually use some of those facilities now, which would be a daytime use only. No, as according to the staff, no sound amplification, no lights on. So we would be actually using the existing parking lot, the existing buildings. There would be very little change to the outside world as far as what's physically going on there. No new buildings projected. We would provide the buffers necessary for the neighborhood. We do have 3 items, though, that we disagree with the staff recommendations on. We're going for a PUD and a planning approval, and if you look on the planning approval list, it seems to indicate all 3 of the issues that we have, although they're duplicated on the PUD part. First one is number 1, limits to a certain number of children. We had 2 goals for this. We started in the early summer. First goal would be for a summer program to be used in the gymnasium, up to 100 children. There are already 100 children in the program on Holcomb Avenue, which would be transferred here. Because we had the holdover and we're now into July, looks like the summer program is not going to work for this summer, but it does work for an after-school program and would work for next summer also. There's up to 100 children there now. They would be there from 3:30 in the afternoon till 6:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, for an after-school program. That would continue year-round. In the summer, we would gear back up to an all-day situation, Monday through Friday. The second component is actually using the classrooms for starting off with pre-K and K and moving on up into the first grade. We had noted first that we're probably talking about 30 children to begin with. That is a beginning point only. I know the staff recommendation limits to 30. For us, that was a minimum starting point. That does not allow any growth.
1 minute.
That does not allow any growth beyond that. And what we would like to do, because we have 9 classrooms in the front building, if you figure 25 students per classroom, that could be up to 225 people, or children. And then in the gymnasium, we also have 9 classrooms. That could be actually 450 children. We would like something much more in line with 450 children instead of limiting us to 30 children. There's not a financial way we can make that work with 30 children limitation. We would like to get much more high up to that, realizing the school ultimately had 1,000 children when it started to close down maybe 10, 15 years ago. Number 5 is blocking vehicular access to Nob Hill Drive. The next speaker will talk to that a little bit more so. We would like to have that open during school hours, which would be 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the afternoon. And number 6, paved circular parking area. We are going to need to be more asphalt for more children and for the bus situation that comes in. We would like the freedom to be able to not do a circular driveway, but do another type of a parking arrangement that would supply the same type of information. And we would suggest the wording on that, that extra pavement would be coordinated with traffic engineering, and the land use department. So very quickly, we would like more than 30 children. Secondly, we would like Nob Hill to be open to the neighborhood during school hours. And thirdly, we would like a better way to do our driveway and extra parking.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Questions by commission members? Mr. Williams, going back to your comment on the circular drive, walk me through.
You can see the shaded area coming down, well, you can see the road there, coming from Halls Mill Road.
Right.
The road that comes up and it stops right about where the red dot is there now. You can see the makings of kind of a circular drive beyond that. That used to be the circulation pattern. That was gravel. It is now kind of mostly grass. The staff had thought that it would be a traditional type situation of looping back around. What happens here, though, in both of the programs, both the aftercare and the school program, it's not the old way of just driving through a carpool line anymore. You actually have to check children in and out. Parents have to stop their car, come in and check children in, check children out. There is bus service coming from different schools for the after-school situation. We think the bus service can be better accommodated by doing that circular. We would like to put actually a real parking lot there, not just the circular, because we're going to need extra parking anyway in the front and in that area. We had not decided how to actually do that, but we would like the freedom to be able to work with engineering and traffic engineering and land use as we propose more parking to go forward with that. Instead of being limited to just that circular, we want to do much more than just the circular.
Mr. Olson, with respect to the PUD application here, can we build in flexibility on the site plan to allow staff and traffic engineering to ultimately determine what that parking situation is going to look like, or is this site plan specific such that we've got to address that in detail today?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would say considering most of what Mr. Williams just discussed was not included in the narrative or the application, staff would not really feel comfortable dealing with significant changes like that administratively.
The issue is the application, the recommendation that he's complaining of was what was included in his application. Recently, I'm not sure what, the last couple of days, last week,
The narrative that was provided as part of the revisions from the previous holdover. So that is what staff had to work with when preparing this revised report.
Right, but we did
the
submit
numbers
a,
you're talking about now were not in the application. So the staff didn't know about it until yesterday.
right.
So the parking's an issue, there's a lot of balloons still in the air for y'all to approve it, conditioned on a bunch of staff approvals in the future.
Okay, Mr. Williams, let's hear from your other speakers and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Good afternoon, I'm Nathan Friedlander. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and Spencer and Nikki Ruggs, who are the principals of Dunaway Corporation. The Spencer and Nikki have operated a faith-based daycare in Mobile for 10 years. It's very close to their anniversary date today. They've had as many as 5 different locations, including their primary location at Government Holcomb Avenue. It's been a successful operation. They provide a much-needed service currently for over 150 families, including pre-K, kindergarten, after-school care, and summer care programs. There's more of a demand for the program that they provide than what their existing facilities have the capacity to serve. So they're asking for your approval to extend their ministry to this property. As noted, and Claude Doyle is here, who is an official with the church next door and was familiar with the operation. And that's where we get our information from as far as the 1,000-student capacity that IMS formerly had. And all that went on for many years without complaint or problems. The buildings on this site are specifically designed for the kind of things that Spencer and Nikki want to try to do. The property's been dormant and unused for over 10 years since the school went out of business, except for being used as an occasional voting center and the soccer training that goes on out there. There's, I understand, 54,000 square feet of classroom, gymnasium, and administrative space that's there. So it's obviously a property that's got the capacity to accommodate way more than 130 children. And it's specifically designed for what they want to do. I mean, obviously, they're going to have to make some enhancements to make sure that it's current with codes, and that's part of the staff recommendation. As far as the number of people and the parking, we recognize that we're going to have to do some additional paid parking, and that we're going to have to get with traffic and engineering to have all that approved, and we're prepared to do that. There's clearly a need for this kind of facility in Mobile. There's been a lot of recent discussions about problems with Mobile youth being out on the streets unsupervised, not having a place to go. The service that Nikki and Spencer provide will give a place for a substantial number of children to have to go when they don't have parental supervision available. And unfortunately, there's too many single family households. There's too many households where both parents have to work. There's a big demand for this kind of service. And one of the great things about Spencer and Nikki is that I know I've heard in the news media a lot of complaints about shoddily run daycare facilities. They're very popular. They've been great surrogate parents for the families that they provide service for. Their success and what they've done so far indicates that. And they just want to expand that, and it's something needed, and it would be a big benefit for the community. They're going to have a mortgage to make this happen. Their financial numbers to make it all work, and it can't be done. It's just not financially feasible with 130 children. We think that we could quickly ramp up to 225 children, and we'd like to have present approval for 450 children to be at the facility. We may not be able to ramp there immediately, but we'll get to 225 very quickly. The Nob Hill Drive area, Nob Hill was formerly open when the school was there. Nob Hill Drive is a principal traffic artery that serves as ingress and egress to Crestview subdivision. There's a traffic light at the other end of Nob Hill at Highway 90, which gives you an idea that it's something that's designed for a little bit heavier traffic. And we don't think that there's going to be any significant increase in traffic, a little bit, but not a huge amount of traffic from our site. But there'll also be access from Halls Mill Road, but it would make it much more convenient for people coming from the neighborhood. Like I went to West Lawn, we had kind of that same situation coming down on Imogene, to get in and out for people coming from the north.
Mr. Freelander, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, and I don't want to speak for the staff, but at this point, I just think they're saying we can't make a decision on this application today based on the additional students from the application that was submitted. They've got to go back and review some of this, so we can't make a determination on access to Nob Hill and this roundabout or cul-de-sac and issue. We can't, we don't have enough information today. Traffic engineering hasn't seen all that, so I think they're recommending a holdover to now go back and reevaluate the site plan and application. Is that correct?
Well, yes, sir. We would, at a minimum, recommend a holdover and that the revised site plan be submitted in adequate time for us to review it prior to it coming back before you.
I'm not capable of a drawing this neat, so this is obviously not my work. It does indicate the number of classrooms that were involved, but I mean, I understand what your position is, but what my thought was that indicating 5 offices and 9 classrooms in one building and 9 classrooms in another building and 10 classrooms in another building clearly indicated that there was going to be more of a use here than 130 children, but maybe that was implied and not expressed like it should have been. Again, I wasn't involved in that, but I can tell you this, there's a financial deal on the table now. Whether that deal's going to be here when the next staff meeting comes around, the contract's already been extended a number of times while we've gone through the process, so I'm just concerned about that. But the facility clearly has the capacity to accommodate everything that we're asking for. It just sounds to me like it's a matter of a number of parking spaces from my perspective, but again, I don't regularly attend the meetings and don't appreciate everything you've got to deliberate for.
Mr. Friedlander, we'll take it up in deliberation. I think everybody understands the need for this type of program and the success that they've seen. We just need to be able to understand where folks are going to park, what the traffic circulation is going to look like, and I think that's where this is probably headed. But we'll hear from some other speakers and then take this up in deliberation.
If I could say just one brief thing.
Brief.
The vacant nature of the property also poses some concerns. It's kind of like the attractive nuisance theory. I mean, there's kids going out there, and sometimes they're breaking windows. I understand they're doing things that maybe they shouldn't be doing. We'd rather have them be supervised than not.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Friedlander. Appreciate your time today. Is there anybody else here questions to Mr. Friedlander? Anybody else having comments in support of item number 3 on our agenda? Anyone need information on or in opposition to item number 3? All right, thank you, sir. We'll move into our new agenda items, and that's new subdivision applications. We'll go to item number 4. This is 6609 Crystal Court North.
Brett Orrell with Poly Surveying for the applicant. What I wanted to look at was, we were in agreement with all recommendations. Item number 6 is being combined. This is currently 2 residential lots. The owner is combining these. Has no immediate plan for this, but in the future wants to build a circular drive to access that would cross the existing vacant lot. And so I would just ask that that just be removed, and that the existing curb cut along with an additional curb cut be approved by traffic engineering.
2 curb cuts sufficient?
2 curb cuts sufficient.
Traffic? No problem. All right. Thank you, Mr. Orrell. Anybody here speaking in support of item number 4, or anyone needing information or in opposition to the subdivision application for 6609 Crystal Court North? Move to item number 5, subdivision application for 4235 Wilkinson Way. Applicant present. Applicant's present, indicated he's in agreement with staff recommendations and conditions. Anybody here needing information on item number 5, or here to oppose the application for subdivision at 4235 Wilkinson Way? Go to item number 6, subdivision application for 4601 Moffett Road. Yes, sir, Mr. Orrell.
Brett Orrell with Poly Surveying. This, once again, is just access management. Wanted to address under items number 2 and 6. Under 2, there's been a denial of access for Lot 1 on the Forest Cove. My understanding is that was based on a previous zoning application. In item number 6, I had a conversation with traffic prior to this meeting several weeks ago. There's a recommendation in there that condition be removed, and we are looking to grant access for Lot 1 onto Forest Cove. This is a state right-of-way. I did email the state looking for some indication of what they would require here. At minimum, we probably have common shared driveway access, but I would expect it may even become some type of service road access. So another access point would be beneficial for Lot 1, and that's the only proposed development coming soon. So any cross-access in the future would have to come before the commission as far as PUD. But at this point, we would like to ask that that be removed and that Lot 1 be granted access to Forest Cove.
So would you be looking for access to Moffett and Forest Cove for Lot
Ye-
1?
Yeah, the access is addressed clearly in, from the city as far as Moffett Road, one curb cut. We're in agreement with that. We're simply asking for the note here denying Lot 1 access to Forest Cove to be removed.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can explain why that condition was previously placed on there. If you look at Forest Cove Drive and follow it in, it is a minor residential street. The property in question is zoned LB2, and the condition was placed on that to keep the commercial traffic off of that minor residential street.
Okay. Thank you. Questions by commission members? Thank you, Mr. Earl. Anyone else here speaking in support of item number 6? Anyone needing information on item number 6 or here in opposition to item number 6? Yes, sir, Mr. Daves.
Looking at
Can you pull your mic down? Thanks.
looking at the site plan, there's a bank on the opposite corner. Does that bank building have a curb cut on the Forest Cove Drive?
No, sir, if you look at the aerial photo that's up there, you can see that it does not.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? All right. Anyone in opposition to item number 6? All right, thank you. We'll move to item number 7. This is subdivision application for the west side of McFarland Road, south of Hamilton Creek, O'Fallon subdivision, first edition. Is the applicant present? The applicant's present, indicated he's in agreement with staff recommendations and conditions. Anyone needing information on item number 7 or here in opposition? All right, we'll move to our new planning approval applications. This is.
Sorry, Jay, I had
Yes.
a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was actually wondering if, I didn't see it on the site plan itself, but I was wondering if there were sidewalks planned on that particular development.
Typically, subdivisions in the planning jurisdiction are constructed to county standards. County does not always require construction of a sidewalk when it is to their standards. So I can't necessarily ask if the developer is planning on including sidewalks or not.
Is the sidewalk requirement in the city's subdivision regulations?
It is.
Okay.
Is that Mr. Austin, who's the engineer on this?
I'm sorry?
Do we need further information on that, or we're in the county, so we're not gonna be able to?
I mean,
Is the planning commission, can they require sidewalks since it's in the subdivision regs?
well, in the past, and there was a memo written years ago under a previous administration that had stated that the standard of construction improvements in the jurisdiction would be up to the county. That included sidewalks, so I'm not sure where we would stand on that now. It's in the jurisdiction.
Is it under the county's?
It's under our subdivision
Well,
regulations.
Mr. Austin can tell us if they plan to build sidewalks when they develop the houses.
Millard Austin, Austin Engineering Company.
Yes, sir.
Sidewalks will be required on both sides of the street in the subdivision restrictions.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Thank you, Mr. Austin. Okay, this is item number 8, new planning approval application for Azalea City Montessori. This is recommended for a holdover by staff to July 21st. Is the applicant present? All right, y'all okay with, Mr. Birdie, y'all okay with the holdover? Please come forward.
My name's Angela Fedor. I'm the director of Azalea City Montessori. I put together the application. I'm not a surveyor or an engineer.
Understand. There are a few questions I think the staff needs answered before they can give a recommendation on this, so they've asked this to be held over till
Yes, sir.
July 21st.
Sure.
Okay.
And so I had a question of whether we needed to prepare all the revisions for the next meeting.
You
Based
need
I guess I want to make sure that your questions are answered as soon as possible.
It would be helpful if those things were addressed.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
And so all the questions that are in the staff report, that's the entirety of your questions? Okay,
Based on what we had.
all right.
submitted.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this application is recommended for holdover, so in all likelihood, the commission will move to hold this till July 21st. If anybody's here present today who has comments regarding item number 8 or who's here in opposition to item number 8, you're welcome to come forward. But in all likelihood, this matter will be heard on July 21st.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I may, real quick.
Yes, sir.
The reason that we only recommended July 21st and not the first meeting in August is because the other applications have already been submitted.
Yep. Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move to sidewalk waiver applications. Item number 9, this is a request to waive sidewalks at 4255 Government Boulevard.
James Price, I'm with Frank A. Dagley and Associates. I'm here on behalf of applicant.
Yes, sir.
The staff report, I believe, recommended denial based on 2 main points. One being that the sidewalk may be able to be entered into the right-of-way, or built on the right-of-way amongst the trees. Now, the trees that are shown on the site plan, I don't see it on the staff report you have, are on the, within the right-of-way up front towards the service drive. It's an area that the applicant left those trees just as a buffer between the, vegetative buffer between the road and his warehouse. The majority of those trees are live oak trees and other heritage trees that he wanted to keep there. It is true that they may be able to work a sidewalk in there, but would be rather difficult. I believe that if the sidewalk was properly constructed, there's a good chance it could kill any trees that it was worked in and around. And if it didn't kill the trees, it eventually, I believe, would the roots growing would cause the sidewalks to break, cause a maintenance problem for the city. And if it was to be able to work in and work, it'd be probably a very serpentine-looking sidewalk section going through that property. The other point I wanted to address is building it on the right-of-way. Now, right before the meeting, I distributed another detail which replaces the last sheet of the staff report. And what it shows is from behind the right-of-way, there's a 6-foot dimension, and then you have an outfall pipe from the stormwater detention. And that's really not just one. This stormwater detention that we submitted and was approved by AlDOT, who controls that right-of-way, and city engineering, it has to flow off of the property across the ground as it did, and then it falls into the service drive and goes down the service drive to hit established drains. There's no ditch on that property, and the property can't be drained on any of the other 3 sides, so it has to go off as it's always drained. Now, the reason there are 3 outfall structures is to keep from concentrating all the stormwater and releasing it into one area. Now, it shows, I believe, a 6-foot dimension, and the existing slope in that area is 4-to-1. So if we have a tree, which I'm sure we have several of them, that's on the back side of the right-of-way, by the time we set a sidewalk in there, 4-foot sidewalk, that's going to create a 1-foot drop coming off of that water coming out of that pipe, have a 1-foot drop to the sidewalk, plus the water leaving the detention
is flowing across a sidewalk. I believe that's gonna cause erosion and maintenance problems for the owner and the city.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Questions by commission members?
Has this information been given to engineering? Because it's, honestly not that smart to figure out.
That information is on the site plan and the grading plan that was submitted for permit and has been approved.
Do you guys have any comment as whether the sidewalks can be built?
Well, on the land disturbance permit, we did tell them to show the proposed sidewalk because they were requesting the waiver, but they need to show it anyway. And I told them that, you know, you show it to be built the way it's supposed to be. If the land disturbance permit then gets approved and your waiver gets approved, then you don't have to build it, but you need to show it to a constructible where it can be constructed. And you know, they showed a sidewalk. They put a sidewalk on there that we gave. Did we give that approval already?
Yes, the,
Okay. So, but I still think that that sidewalk can be built on the property or within the right-of-way, meandering through the trees, however they want to do it. Now, he does have a point that we do not allow the runoff to flow across the surface of the sidewalk. And that is something he's going to have to address between him and DOT if DOT is going to accept that water.
I just have a question, and the map or that's in the book does not depict it. But the residential units that are located here are shown here.
yes, ma'am.
Are the sidewalks there?
No, ma'am.
No
There's
sidewalks?
in there, right?
Okay.
This is just,
We've had this issue come up a couple of years ago. I remember at the Chick-fil-A out on Airport, and their solution was to put the sidewalk adjacent to the parking lot on the back side of the trees. Is that, I'm not seeing your particular site, but is that an option here?
Because of the size of this detention area, it takes up a large, I'd say a majority of the right-of-way on the Service Road Drive. As a matter of fact, it even comes in between a portion of the parking lot and the Service Road. So it kind of comes back in. I don't really think that's a possibility.
I think the challenge that myself and probably the rest of my commissioners have when reviewing these waivers like this and looking at just very, very basic schematics that are not to scale, we can't tell if it's constructible or not. I mean, I know the engineering staff that looked at this, they know a sidewalk can be constructed. It might require you to reconfigure your retention pond or bring the sidewalk into your private property. I mean, that's the challenge. So when we get these drawings that are, nothing's to scale, nothing is really site-specific, it's very hard for us to get behind a waiver when, it looks like it might be possible.
I would like to address one thing mentioned about, they require us to show a sidewalk as it would be built and then apply and ask for a waiver stating that we can't build it. Well, that seems like kind of a catch-22. You have to show us how you're gonna build it and then tell me you can't build it. So all we can do in that situation is draw a sidewalk and say, this is where a sidewalk might be.
Mr. Chairman, I would, my thought is that we've been building sidewalks now for a good period of time in areas where we have a lot of oak trees. And we've been figured out a way to do it. So I'm, again, as Mr. Amberger's pointed out, in the absence of something proving you can't do it, then I'm going to be very reluctant to vote in favor of the waiver.
May I add also that the site plan that was submitted with the application does not show any detention on the site plan, so staff can't, at least on that, know where it is versus what was submitted for land disturbance, and that the trees that have been left based on the photographs provided with the application are actually trees in the city right-of-way, not trees on the private property to screen the building. So the frontage area on the private property looks like it has mostly, not completely, but mostly been cleared of private trees, with the only trees remaining those that are in the public right-of-way.
Further questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just noticed that the site plan indicates there are 3 trees to be removed from the right-of-way for the proposed driveway. Have you submitted applications to the tree commission for those removals?
I am not sure at this time if we have or haven't, so.
I'm pretty sure we haven't received
Okay.
one.
Let me ask, is there a chance we can get a holdover on this and provide more information, see if we can make a better argument?
We'll certainly take that up, a couple of weeks, a month,
I'd say till the next meeting.
next meeting? Thank you, Mr. Price. We'll take that up. Anybody else here in support of or in opposition to the sidewalk waiver for item number 9?
Just from my own personal knowledge, like zonings and subdivisions, if you deny a subdivision, how long do they have before they can resubmit?
Subdivision can reapply basically immediately. Rezoning, planning approval, PUD, 6 months.
Sidewalk is,
Since that's part of the subdivision regulations, they could reapply.
okay.
Anything else?
One more comment for staff. If y'all can, when applicants are requesting the sidewalk waivers, I think it would encourage them to give us a little bit more detail. I mean, I think it'll help us help them if they'll make these drawings a little bit more, not full-blown engineering drawings, but enough that we can tell that they've at least given some reasonable thought to it.
All right, we'll move to item number 10. This is a sidewalk waiver for 1301 Cochran Causeway. Is applicant present? Applicant's present, indicated he's in agreement with staff recommendations. Anyone needing information on item number 10 or here in opposition to item number 10? We'll go to item number 11. This is a vacation request for a portion of the south side of Cottage Hill Road, east of Jeff Hamilton. Staff has recommended this be held to August 18th. Is applicant present? Applicant understands it's held over to August 18th. Anyone here needing information on item number 11 or here in opposition? This matter will be heard on the 18th of August, but you're welcome to come down and speak now if you have comments. We'll move to our group applications. This is item number 12. This is a subdivision, plan unit development, and planning approval for 6455, 6459 Overlook Road. Applicant present? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Pastor Corey McCoy with Word of God Church at 6455 Overlook Road. What you're seeing on the screen is a proposal that we're proposing to the commission. This is a facility that we want to make out of a mini campus. At this present time, we have 2 buildings that's on our property. One is a very small fellowship hall, and one is a very small sanctuary. And at this present time, we're not able to reach our community like we would like to. The new buildings and structures that we have that we're presenting and proposing to you all, one is a main sanctuary, one is a senior activity center, and then the third one is a youth activity center. And so we're looking at, I looked on the agenda and I saw where the timeline was asked of. We're looking at 3 years to complete this entire project. We're ready to go forward. We're just waiting. We was here last month. We didn't have our plan turned in, but now we're ready to move forward.
Okay. The staff has got a series of questions and items that they need completed from the applicant. And I think they've given those in this recommendation and have asked for that information to be submitted to them by July 21st.
Okay.
So if you can take that list of issues and have those resolved with staff by then, we'll be prepared to move on this on August 4th.
On August 4th.
Right.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, you do have a letter from the architect on this project, William Coy Deemer, requesting approval today.
He wanted to ask the commission permission that once we meet all the requirements, can we just go directly with staff and just work out all the small details that's left.
You can certainly, we encourage you to meet with the staff and try to work those out, but it will have to come back before this commission to be approved.
Okay.
All right. Anyone here with questions concerning item number 12 on the agenda? Staff is recommending this to be held on August the 4th, but if you're here today, you're welcome to come down and speak, but the matter will be heard on the 4th. We'll move to item number 13. This is a subdivision plan unit development application for 5113 Halls Mill Road. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Sheffield, 5113 Halls Mill Road. We had an agreement with the city's recommendations of compliance with everything but the closing of one of our entrances to our property. We are in the towing business, and a lot of times the police department, fire department recommend us get 2 cars from the scene at one time or 1 truck. It's virtually impossible to back into our driveway for the size of the property with 1 driveway. And we have had an accident trying to do that before, where we lost a tow truck, was totaled. My second part of that is that creek right there rises at the least little bit of rain, and they block off that, and people coming down headed that way on Halls Mill Road, we let them use our driveway to make their turnarounds so that they don't get bottled up, and that water gets real high there. It gets up to 4 foot deep right there. And they barricade it right at the creek, so a lot of people use my driveway to make a U-turn, and I've never denied them that access.
Traffic, explain the reasoning for the single access.
That is one of the conditions that was held over from an earlier approval of the site, and so it's kind of just stuck with it. But I did not realize how close your property was to that turnaround, and I will concur that that road is barricaded often, very close to that property. And the turnaround is greatly appreciated, sir, thank you. But that it is a common occurrence in heavy rains.
Mr. Sheffield, do you know the item number, or staff, can you help me with the item number on the access points?
Number 1.
Southern curb cut, okay, so that's item number 1. Is it just on the subdivision?
Number 5.
Well, no, it's, traffic engineering's okay.
Yeah, traffic engineering, number 5, limited to the existing curb cuts. There are 2 existing.
And number 2 on the PUD.
And number 2 on the PUD.
No.
Mr. Sheffield, we'll take that up in deliberation, but I think we'll be able to work with you on those. Do you have anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Is there anyone else here with respect to item number 13 in support of this application? Is there anybody here having questions regarding this application or having opposition? All right, we'll move to item number 14. This is a subdivision and rezoning application for the north side of Todd Acres Drive. Applicant's present, indicated he's in agreement with staff recommendations and conditions. Anyone here needing information on item number 14 or here in opposition to this application? Move to item number 15. This is subdivision and plan unit development for 608, 610, 612, and 614 Holcomb. Staff's recommended this for holdover to August 4th. Applicant present? Applicant's present? Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody here having questions concerning item number 15 or in opposition is welcome to come down and speak. This matter will be held on August 4th. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Gladys Easton. I'd like to know what kind of business are they planning to put there in that area?
Mr. Byrd, do you know, or can you address, Ms. Easton, this is Mr. Byrd. He's the representative of the applicant, and I think the two of y'all may be able to speak about what.
Man purchased the property approximately 4 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. Moved 3 buildings. He has, or when this is all completed, what we're trying to do, it'll be on the market for rent. It's already zoned. Whatever would fit in that classification would be what would be allowed. Right now, he doesn't.
So,
There's no stipulation as to what kind of business that can be placed there?
Well, yes, ma'am, it's subject to the zoning ordinance, and this is currently zoned B3. So items that are allowed in the B3 zone, currently allowed will remain applicable for this site. So the zoning is not changing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Easton. Anyone else having questions concerning item number 15? We'll go to item number 16. This is a subdivision application, plan unit development and rezoning for 102, 142 A and B, and 150 West Drive. It's recommended to hold over to August 4th. Applicants in agreement with such holdover. Anybody here needing information on item number 16 or having opposition? Ms. Rich.
Bess Rich, 625 Cumberland Road East, also the council representative where this location is situated. We've had a meeting with the developer. They're from, I believe, North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, maybe South Carolina. But they were very amenable to sitting down, and we had a very good turnout. But obviously, there are others that did not get the word that they wanted the holdup to the 4th. What came across was the density, the amount of cars that will go down this residential street. It's got a ditch. It's not going to be, they only have one way out. And if you will recall the Edge development when it was first a PUD as the Grand, that's at the top of the street. The residents were amenable to the PUD at the time because there was an emergency gate only onto West. And unfortunately, that didn't pan out, and there's a parking lot across from this apartment complex at the top. I think 250 cars can park, and the students that live in that housing go back and forth, and it really tied up the street. There is a possibility that this parcel can have access to an alleyway. They've talked to the university in order to make it a two-way egress and ingress. Tomorrow, this could become I think a 50 or 52 lot residentially because of the R1, but the R3 is really bumping it up. And I think it's 348 parking spaces. So anything that could keep the traffic off of West should be absolutely encouraged. I understand they met with traffic engineering. That's one of the reasons they're slowing it down, because that was the number one thing from the residents. And also, there were many that also felt that the R1, it should stay in the R1 because that end of the street, the dead-end street, is, except for the north abutting parcel, the rest of it is all R1. So you'd be keeping the character the same, which might be helpful to the residents. I know traffic engineering had comments, and that's in your report as well. So if they can work with South, that's a win-win for everybody, because then it could come a two-way. They would not have to go out of West Drive. If you live there, they did a traffic study, and they said that they would make a right-hand, I guess it's some kind of slip, so there could be an automatic right, but it can't be done because of utilities, and they'd also have to work with the Edge, and I doubt the Edge would be amenable, just saying, because it's big competition down below. But there is a problem with traffic, and I can't stress that enough. You might hear from some of the residents that didn't know that this was going to be held over. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Rich. Questions by commission members? All right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Elizabeth Moyd. I live at 168 West Drive. I'm on the south side of Morrison's Nursery. I am one of the oldest members living on that street. There are only two original people living on that street, and that would be John Mayo across the street from me and myself. The property was owned by my father, who acquired it in 1939 for $10. Can you believe that? I'm opposed to this because right now with the Edge apartments up there, and I have almost hit people walking back and forth across the street from the parking lot to the Edge Apartments. There's not proper lighting where you can even see the people walking. And I do not want apartments next to my house because of, it will incorporate more loud noises and everything. I have enough loud noises from the other Section 8 apartments up there behind the Edge Apartments. And there are 10 still living houses on the street, 5 on either side. They're the original houses. And I just, like Ms. Rich said, it is a dead-end road. I am concerned about the traffic and the drainage because my property was eroded away by Morrison's watering their plants and other flowers and everything constantly. And my father built up concrete walls down along the fence row to keep our property from eroding over. And now it has completely, their property grew up and ours was still eroding away. My other thing is there are 42 houses down in the old clay pit, because that's what it used to be. And up from that is 36 townhouses, which used to be owned by my grandmother. But it's a gated community, and you don't hardly hear anything out of these people or anything, and they're very nice and everything, and I really like those townhouses down there. On the Cooper side, it used to be owned by the Parkers. There is 18-house cul-de-sac, and then up from that is one house that was owned by a preacher, and then the Mayo, and then it goes back into the Fair and Woods cul-de-sac. I'm across the street from John Mayo, and on the south side of me was owned by Robert Cooper, who ran a septic tank business out of that whenever, way back in the 60s and 70s. All of these people are deceased now. I'm one, like I said, I am one of the original people left on the street. I don't want to see a apartment complex. We've got enough traffic. This is a dead end. There's no way to get around, going in and out. We don't even have a red light at the end of our street. And it's hard to get out, especially with the college traffic and then the school kids coming out of the Edge parking place. And I just, there's enough in there. And then when there was construction going on up and down the road with these other townhouses and subdivisions of cul-de-sacs and everything, it crossed up our streets. And a lot of times, both lanes were blocked, and I couldn't even get to work. And that's my other thing with them is so much construction. We don't have no way of getting out any other way. Now, this parking lot is built on the Lambert side, which is another original house.
1 minute.
Then it will be, more people apt to get killed if there's not proper lighting. And I'm just concerned about all that drainage of water and everything because that will go back down into the ditch and everything. But it's just, those pipes are just so big. Let's see. What else? There are also, I know, on Morrison's property, there are endangered species of trees and plants over there, same as they are on mine. And we don't want to see all of these endangered species of plants destroyed. And I think an investigation needs to be done into that also to find out just what kind of plants are over there. I do know that there are pine trees that are loblollies. They are on the endangered species.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Moore, we appreciate your comments.
Yes, sir.
Questions by commission members? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
We can take 2 more speakers if there are any.
I'll be quick. My name is Scott Glaberman. I'm a resident at 6150 Northwoods Court, which is just behind the area that's for rezoning. Just to say simply that most of the dwellings in this neighborhood are R1, single-family unit homes, and this wouldn't be at the edge of the neighborhood, but really sort of right in the middle. So for me, it would stick out like a sore thumb, multifamily housing right in the middle of houses all over, single-family houses all over. And so that's one thing that would bother me. The other thing is, like people mentioned before, the car traffic. There's very intermittent sidewalks. I walk to the university where I work with my family, and I've been almost hit many, many times already with the heavy traffic that's there. We can't really be on a sidewalk. The sidewalk starts and stops. And so I think that this would cause a huge increase in traffic when there aren't any sidewalks, and even if the development agreed to put sidewalks in, there still isn't sidewalks, on either side of that necessarily. So I don't think that would solve the problem. So those are my basic points. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Real quick.
Question?
You live on the street and work at the university?
Yes.
I mean, do you envision a lot of these residents here actually driving to school every day? I mean, if this is student housing, do you see it more pedestrian and bicycle for them to attend their classes?
I don't see them drive. I see them mostly walking to school, but I can see from the Edge apartments that most of the students there do have cars. So they will be using those cars for other purposes. South is not really a campus that has sort of like a thriving life on campus. People really sort of, live off campus. Very few live on campus and drive all over the city.
And my opinion of that is it's more off campus and commuter because there haven't been enough housing units in close proximity to the school. So as that school is growing, which is kind of a benefit to the area, but I understand a burden maybe on homeowners in the immediate area. This is providing more residential units within close proximity, which we see at these other exciting campuses in the southeast. So
yeah, I understand. And I was thinking, there's even a townhome complex, which probably fits more people per, square foot or something like that. I mean, that, I would even be amenable to that. But apartment complex seems like a little bit too much. And about this university, I mean, they could also do more, I think, to promote, living on campus and building. I mean, I think there's plenty of room on campus that I can see. And I don't speak for the university at all. I'm just an employee. But
Thank you,
but I
Mr.
think
Loman.
they could do
We appreciate your time. Questions and comments? Thank you, sir. We can have one more if anyone wants to speak.
My name's Lawrence Woods. I live at 6182 North Woods Court. And my concern is like everyone else, is the traffic, because it's a dead end, just one way out. And you got, looks like 350 parking areas. You got 350 cars. And my concern is students. The apartment has 5 bedrooms, and students to be able to afford will be more than what the 5 or 10 students or whatever. And then you're going to have more cars, and I believe that if there's nowhere to park, they're going to park up and down West Street, which is going to block, emergency vehicles and whatnot. But that's my concern. And my other concern is at the top of the hill, people have talked about these students when they come across the street from the parking lot. There's no crossing there where designated to cross. They cross wherever they get out of their car, and they walk out in the road with their smartphone. They don't look left or right. I've had to slam on my brakes, but that's a concern, and eventually somebody's going to be killed. That's my main concern.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Questions by commission members? Again, this is being held over to August 4th, but the applicant's certainly welcome to speak if they'd like to at this point. All right. Move to item number 17. This is a subdivision application and rezoning for 4297 Riviera Duchesne Road. Applicant present.
Good afternoon, Adam Metcalf with Metcalf and Company, 5 Dolphin Street, Mobile 36602. Although the application was recommended for tentative approval, late last week I was contacted by Councilman Williams, and there's some residents in the area that had some questions. about the intended use here, so I'd like to request a holdover of the application. I have a meeting set with the councilman and some neighbors next Tuesday evening, so I'd like to meet with them and chat with them, and then like to come back and address the application.
7:21, okay? Staff, is that work for y'all?
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the applicant has requested that this application be held over to July 21st. In all likelihood, that will be the case. If you're here today and would like to speak, we certainly welcome your comments. Otherwise, the recommendation will be to hold this to July 21st. Yes, either one of y'all.
My name is Richard Alexander. I live at 3323 Riviere de Cheyne Road and have been on that road for right at 40 years. During those 40 years, I've seen the increase, time and time again, of Riviere de Cheyne Road in traffic. It's the only way in and out of Riviere de Cheyne Peninsula. That's it. Unless you get out on that road, you better leave by boat. And with the subdivisions that have popped up since I've been there, and even before I was there, the traffic has become heavier and heavier. The real concern that I have is that at the intersection there, this plan, as I understand it, is recommended, and I appreciate the man offering to talk and look forward to meeting with him. I wasn't part of the group that knew of that, but at any rate, you've got the circumstance here of no curb cuts going to Halls Mill Road. And from what I can tell from the application, it sounds like the purpose is for the storage of heavy equipment. This is a 13-acre tract, as I understand, and of course, it's all forested at this time, except for the parts that are just right at the roads there. And the idea of, I suppose, cutting the trees down and putting riprap on the ground so that trailers can haul heavy equipment in and out and have exactly 2 curb cuts to get in and out, being on Riviere de Cheyne Road, the only ingress and egress to the entire subdivision. With, here come the tractors pulling the big trailers with the big equipment that have just finished, perhaps even leaking oil into the area where they've been parked until they're pulled out of there. I don't think it fits. Matter of fact, it doesn't fit at all. And as an example of that, on the other side of Riviere de Cheyne Road, there's McClendon Paper. It's been there for years. And the last thing you want to have happen when you're trying to hurry on out of your neighborhood and get on down to your business, perhaps even to court on time, is to see that here comes the paper truck, 18-wheeler, delivering the paper to the paper company. Well, they're there, and we have to put up with that, and we've always happily endured it. But then the next thing that happened is here comes the practice trailer drivers, the school for driving 18-wheelers. And they found that to be a wonderful area to go down to the McClendon Paper Company and train the new people how to back around and get around. And here they come easing back out into Riviere de Cheyne Road, perhaps the truck heaving a bit from their gear capabilities not being what they should develop to one day, and it stops traffic for the entire subdivision. Trailers with heavy equipment, with 2 ingress and egresses, curb cuts only to Riviere de Cheyne Road, none to Halls Mill Road, which at least if they were open to Halls Mill Road, it would be past Riviere de Cheyne, so if you were going to the left, you'd have to deal with trucks coming in and out, but if you're going to the right, they wouldn't bother you. But I think it's an inappropriate use of the property. And I don't know that I'll be available on the date that it's been continued to, so I did want to express a little bit of what I know about it from having lived there. And in closing, I would like to thank all the members of the commission for the very hard work of trying to rectify, pacify, and get everyone fairly treated in regards to the utilization of their real property. I know it's a hard task. But this is a large neighborhood. It's the only way in and out. And I ask that you not allow this to happen under the present circumstances. I thank you for your attention.
Real quick, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Questions?
You're not gonna be here in a couple of weeks, but.
I don't know, and that's the reason I spoke now. I did not know that this was going to happen. Frankly, I was tied up and just got here late. But I would like to be back on the date. Is it August the 4th? Was that the date I heard you say?
July 21st is what we're contemplating.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm sure traffic will speak to this, but it seems like that site has very minimal frontage on Halls Mill, so I think probably the safest location for access to 11 acres is going to be on River to Shane. I mean, this property owner's got rights as well, property owner's rights, so they need to be able to access their property. And it just seems like, you know, some access to River to Shane is probably safer for anybody, you know, in that area than the very minimal frontage they have on Halls Mill immediately at that intersection.
I can understand, and I appreciate your effort, as I said, to try to balance the equities, but right at the intersection of Halls Mill, that's where that's where it backs up. You can end up putting a traffic light there before it's over with. And it's just not a place to have big trucks coming in right next to Halls Mill Road. You're coming down the hill from the interstate, it's from here to that wall, I can see it now. Here comes the truck blocking both lanes while it waits to get in line to try to get out on Halls Mill Road, where the traffic has increased enormously lately.
Well, traffic may
Halls Mill.
speak to that. They may require it to be a certain distance away from Halls Mill Road, so that's something we may hear in a few weeks.
And good luck, and I appreciate your thought. The hill does start going up there, though, for the road, and I don't know that that's gonna be able to be too far back. You'll have to look at it to see. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Further questions? We'll let you take, after they're done. So is there anyone else speaking, having questions regarding this application or in opposition?
My name is Pamela DeBose, and I live at 3808 St. Andrews Drive in the Riviera du Chien area. I'm new to the area, and I'm really glad that this sir here explained it very clearly. Riviera du Chien is only one way in and one way out. We have a train track that sometimes stop the traffic. And the 2 years I've been there, the traffic, sir, you made the statement that there's minimum traffic. I tend to disagree with you. There's a lot of traffic on Riviera du Chien. A lot of people have moved in there. They've moved there with families. There's about 300 houses. There are 4 subdivisions over there. And to have an entrance to Riviera du Chien is going to be a very, very serious problem. People don't stop at the stop sign at Riviera du Chien. They just go right out on Halls Mills Road. People coming from Halls Mills Road comes right in there. And this area that this man would like to put that facility, I also agree that it's not an appropriate place to put it. It's very inappropriate. Halls Mills Road is an industrial area. Riviera du Chien is more of a residential area. If you change that zone from Zone 1 and B, I think B3 to I1, that's going to open up doors for other companies, small, and from what I understand, that's small industry, sir? Small industry? Well, his industry is to store, a storage place to store trucks. When you have a lot of trucks going down any type of street, especially one street, you're gonna have a lot of problems with the roads. It's gonna damage the roads. And again, I think that is not a very safe area or an appropriate area to put a storage place. And I'm representing homeowners who live in the Riviera du Chien area and also the ones that live in Lloyd Station. So I won't be here for that meeting on Tuesday, but I will be back for the meeting on the 21st. And I hope you take this in consideration because that train, we have that train coming through there at least 3 or 4 times a day. That stopped traffic right on Riviera du Chien. When it rains, Halls Mills Road, the gentleman that just mentioned the flooding, that is a real serious problem. And here in Mobile, it rains all the time and it floods. So that's going to create traffic on Halls Mills Road and Riviera du Chien. So I think that's, if you want to put something else on there, I think it's fine. But what you're requesting I and a lot of homeowners are totally opposed to it, and I hope you would take that into consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. DuBose. Questions about commission members? All right, we take two more if there's anyone here. All right. The applicant like to respond? Please go ahead.
Since this lady would not be at our meeting, if I could take a minute to address.
Wednesday. I won't, if we
Okay.
change it to Wednesday.
I don't think we can. But just a couple quick things. The site is configured oddly, both from a actual shape and then the topography of the site. I think that the staff, the reason that they said no access to Halls Mill is because the actual frontage on Halls Mill is probably so close to the intersection. I'm assuming that's why traffic would not allow to have traffic entering and exiting the site so close to the intersection. I'm assuming that to be the case, and I have no control over that. Another issue, the existing drive, if you call it a drive, can you, Bert, or could you pull up the aerial? Okay, you see where, right across from McKinnon Road there, where it's like a dirt entrance? That's the current entrance to the site. And if you go any further to the southwest, whatever, down River to Shane, the grade quickly increases on River to Shane. This is River to Shane, and then the site is down in a hole, and then there is a gas easement that runs parallel to River to Shane. So there's no other access point on River to Shane than anywhere in between where the current little drive is and up to the corner. And I don't think that staff would want, the city would want it to be any closer to the corner either. I don't have a problem with it being limited to one curb cut, because I don't see how you ever could put another curb cut in, because you can't transit from here very easily anyway, down into the site. And because of that and the configuration, it's gonna be it's not a subdivision per se, it's a subdivision because it needs to be a legal lot of record, but it'll never be any more than one lot. And that's another reason why the zoning changed, because a B3 zoning for a 10-acre tract is not a practical matter from a real estate standpoint. But as far as trucks are concerned, trucks can come in and out of there in a B3 zoning just as much as they can in an I-1 zoning. And the intended use would not be a storage yard. Are you familiar with the M&I equipment that's right on the other side of McKinnon Drive?
I've been down there, yes.
Okay, where they have like equipment that's rental-like equipment?
I don't like that either.
Okay, well, that would be the
And Mr.
intended
Metcalf,
type of use.
Mr. Metcalf, we're going to hurry this
Certainly.
along. If y'all want to have a conversation.
That's fine, I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the 21st, so,
Excuse me, can I ask a question, since there's nobody else here to talk? Just one question?
Yes, ma'am.
The question I would like to ask is that, I got information, but I want to be sure. Is this a storage place?
No, ma'am.
So what is it?
The intended use would be an equipment rental type operation.
And what type of equipment you would be renting?
Lifts and, very similar to Volvo Rents, which is just further down Halls Mill Road on the interstate.
Well, see, we already have that in our neighborhood.
all right, folks, we can,
I'm
y'all,
so- I'm
again,
sorry, I'm
y'all can,
sorry, but
that's a
I just-
question from Mr. Metcalf, and
Okay.
y'all can sit and visit.
Okay.
We'd love for y'all to take this up outside. All right, we're going to move to item number 18. This is a subdivision application and rezoning for 1151 Dolphin Street. Applicant's present.
I'm Ben Cummings, Cummings Architecture. I'm the applicant for the owner. I've read the staff report, and I'm pleased that the staff has recommended approval for the subdivision and the rezoning. But I do have one issue with item number one, the condition number one of the subdivision, where they are requesting a 45-foot building setback on Dolphin Street. I have read the section, Roman numeral 5, section D9 of the subdivision regulations, and I understand, why they have requested the 45-foot building setback. For those that don't know what that says, it says a minimum front yard setback of 25 feet from the front property line shall be provided on every lot, and the setback line shall be shown on the final plat. Where a lot abuts a future major street, which Dolphin Street is on the major street plan, the front yard setback shall be measured from the right-of-way line of such future major street as established by the major street plan of the city of Mobile. Well, I think there are a lot of streets that are on the major street plan that should not be on the major street plan, and I think that it is highly unlikely that this section of Dolphin Street will ever be widened to accommodate the major street plan, which I believe is a 100-foot right-of-way. And if my memory serves right, I think Dolphin Street right now is a 60-foot right-of-way. So, this section of Dolphin Street has a lot of historic structures. This structure in particular it was designed as a church by one of Mobile's famous architects, George Rogers. And, if Dolphin Street were ever widened, we would lose a significant historic structure as well as other historic structures. So I just find it unbelievable that Dolphin Street would ever be widened. There are major oak trees, plenty of historic structures that are built about the standard 25-foot building setback, and we would just like to maintain the standard 25-foot building setback on Dolphin Street and the 20-foot setback on Oakland Terrace as shown on the subdivision plat that was submitted in the application.
Thank you, Mr. Cummins. I tend to think you have a very strong argument. Staff, what are our options here?
Mr. Chairman, staff does not have a problem with the setback being from the existing right-of-way. As you know, technically, we have to make our recommendation based on the code and regulations. One of the things I can tell you is that we will be, with the rewrite of the zoning ordinance major street plan, address things such as this with the consultant to see about having Dolphin Street and a couple of the other major streets that are within the inner city changed. Houston Street is on the major street plan, but the major street plan makes allowances for that and says it shall be the existing right-of-way. That's what we will be proposing to the consultant to do for Dolphin Street, and as I said, some of the others. Taking it off the major street plan, no, but adjusting the right-of-way, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cummins. Any questions by commission members? Anyone else needing to speak in support of item number 18? Anyone here in opposition to item number 18 or having questions or needing information regarding item number 18? All right. With that, we will move to deliberation session. Go back to item number 1 on the agenda. Item number 1 is the rezoning for 5550, 5560, 5580, 5590 Perry Road. The staff recommendation was for denial. The applicant requested a holdover in order to meet with the neighbors to potentially consider some self-imposed restrictions there. I'll certainly entertain a motion for however this commission wants to move on that.
What was our holdover date suggested by staff?
I don't think they suggested one. I think we may want to give them
August
2,
4th.
30, yeah, give them 2 meetings.
Yeah.
August 4th.
Okay. Move to hold over until August 4th.
Second. Yeah, and I would just say if this comes back up and you're still ranking him for denial, I may want to see some conditions in the event it goes the other way.
All right, and y'all are gonna have to bear with me because I'm used to being able to see y'all from behind, and I can't today. So that was Mr. Hembry's motion, and who seconded? Ms. Latham seconded the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, if we have to meet here again, we can put you in the little area right behind you.
I'd love to sit, but let me sit up in the judge's seat. I don't usually get-
No, the quarter seat.
Oh, that's probably more likely. All right, so item number 1, motion carries. We'll move to item number 2. This is a holdover of subdivision application and PUD for 3945 and 3949 Government Boulevard.
Move for approval, subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vallis, second by Mr. Gant. Any further discussion?
Are we holding this over?
No.
Okay.
This is item number 2. We have a motion to approve by Mr. Vallis, a second by Mr. Gant. I'll note that Ms. Andrews and Ms. Latham are recused. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Go to item number 3. This is planning approval and PUD for the north side of Halls Mill Road. We're going to move to hold this for, how long does the staff need to address the parking and?
Well, considering they need to provide a revised site plan and a new narrative going into detail what Mr. Williams discussed today, I would
8-4.
say August 4th.
I'll make that motion, move to hold August 4th.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gant. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Go to new subdivision applications. This is item number 4. 6609 Crystal Court North.
Move to approve based on staff recommendation with a change to item number 6. I'm not sure how you want to word that, but giving 2 curb cuts.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Hembry, second by Mr. Amberger. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move to item number 5, subdivision application 4235 Wilkinson Way.
Move to approve, subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Daves, second by
Ms.
Ms. Sessions. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move to item number 6, subdivision application for 4601 Moffett Road. I think this is the one we needed to consider the curb cut on Forest Cove.
What was staff's position on item number 2?
Well, we still feel that commercial traffic onto the minor residential street is not appropriate. I would definitely like to hear from traffic engineering if they think that the access to Forest Cove is absolutely required.
Based on my knowledge of ALDOT's access management policy that they have, there's roughly 600 feet. It is unlikely that they would get more than 1 curb cut for this entire frontage. Added to that, there is a public street that aligns approximately the center of the lot across the street, and that could restrict a left turn movement or 2, possibly. So allowing some kind of access to Forest Cove would be appropriate. Part of the reason why the bank does not have access to Forest Cove is there's actually a strip of property owned by the homeowners association on that side of the street. So there is property between the bank and the roadway frontage. So that is why they don't have access. But it's something to be considered, at least to be, allow for some kind of leeway if for some reason this property is denied some kind of left access.
And really, Lot 1 could be developed into some use that caters to that little neighborhood back there, and it would be easier for them to access it. So I'll make a motion to approve providing Lot 1 access to Forest Drive as subject to traffic engineering approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vallis, second by Mr. Hembry. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Go to item number 7, subdivision application for O'Fallon subdivision.
Move to approve, subject to staff recommendations. Second.
Motion by Mr. Dave, second by Mr. Gant. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just had one quick question. Since they are going to be putting sidewalks on there, would there be any, is there any benefit to adding that to the recommendations for that particular site?
if it's in the ordinance, if it's in the subdivision ordinance, does it need to be confirmed in the
No,
staff
he says he'll
recommendation?
put it in the covenants.
No.
Well, since it's in the county and we do to county standards, they did say they were going to do it in their covenants. It's up to the commission whether or not you would like to make it a condition.
I'm fine with it being a condition if somebody wants to.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure we should make it a condition. I think it's in the county, we need to let the county rules obtain in the county. If he wants to put it in the subdivision, that's up to him, but I'm not gonna support putting it as a condition of the approval when it's in the county.
Yeah, I'm all for the sidewalk requirements, but being that this is in the county, I don't see where I don't recall any times where we've required stuff in the police jurisdiction to meet the city codes.
All right.
Do we have a motion?
I was going to say, we currently have a motion by Mr. Amberger and a second by,
No, we have a motion by Mr. Daves and Mr. Gant.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. And my motion is just to approve it, subject to staff recommendation.
right, so we have a motion to approve, subject to staff recommendation by Mr. Daves and a second by Mr. Gant. We had further discussion, we had a motion to amend.
I'll withdraw that
All
amendment.
right, so that's been withdrawn. So we have a motion by Mr. Daves, a second by Mr. Gant to approve subject to staff recommendations. Further discussion. Ms. Andrews raised the question about adding this in as a condition. Procedurally, Mr. Anderson, I think we got to vote on the first motion. If there wants to be an amendment, or if the motion fails, we can amend.
Make a motion
Yep.
or an amendment, she just made some
Yep.
discussion.
Okay. All right.
The original motion's on.
Original motion's on the table. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, going to item number 8. This is new planning approval application for Azalea City Montessori at 4 North Ann. That's recommended for a holdover to July 21st. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gant. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to sidewalk waiver applications. This is item number 9, 4255. The applicant requested a holdover to the next meeting to provide some additional information to engineering. Staff recommendation was for denial of the sidewalk waiver. I will accept a motion however the commission feels.
In light of the fact that the applicant requested a holdover, I move we hold it over till the next meeting.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Latham, second by Mr. Amberger to hold this to July 21st. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10 is a sidewalk waiver for 1301 Cochran Causeway. Staff recommendation for approval. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daves. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 is a vacation request, the south side of Cottage Hill Road. Staff recommendation for August the 18th holdover. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daves. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Go to group applications. Item 12, subdivision, PUD, and planning approval for 6455 Overlook. Staff recommendation for August 4th holdover. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gant. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13 is a subdivision application in PUD for 5113 Halls Mill Road. I think we have an item with respect to access there.
We want to take all of these together, the PUD and the subdivision?
Yes, let's take both of them together, please.
All right, move to approve based on staff recommendation, removing item number 1 and 5 from the subdivision report and 2 and 11 from the PUD.
The traffic engineering comments don't need to be removed because they allow 2 curb cuts, I believe.
Yeah, they limited to the existing curb cuts, and there are 2 curb cuts currently.
So that was item number 2 and 11?
5.
Right, so
So
only,
leave 5 and 11.
yeah,
Okay.
1 and 2 would be the ones to be
Okay,
removed.
1 and 2, all right. Let me amend my motion. I move to approve based on staff recommendation, removing item number 1 and item number 2 on the PUD.
Second.
Ms. Latham, second.
Ms. Latham, second. Okay. Got a motion by Mr. Hembry, second by Ms. Latham. Any further discussion?
I just had a quick question about this one. You know, given the proximity of this particular site to residential right next door, you know, is there, should there be additional consideration regarding the buffer between the two sites? Or is the site as presented sufficient? I don't know if that's kind of a staff question or,
Well, it depends on what the commission wants to do. One thing I will say, excuse me, if you look at the site plan and then you look at the aerial photo, they don't really correspond. The site plan, which is up on the screen right now, shows a large area along the south property line to be grass and landscape, one would assume, with only a portion of that rear being gravel. If you look at the aerial photo, there are vehicles parked all the way up to that south property line for much of the rear, and the gravel extends much farther than is shown on the site plan.
so do you have kind of any more specific of an opinion than that, or just?
I think, and Mr. Anderson, correct me if I'm wrong, since PUDs are site plan specific, if the commission approves that site plan, then they will have to comply with that site plan.
Okay.
Further questions?
Yes, what was, do we know the purpose the applicant made, you know, made the subdivision request and the PUD request? I mean, I'm just looking at it, I'm not seeing anything proposed. It looks like everything's existing, and perhaps he's not really planning to do anything other.
Well, if you look at the canopy here was built without any permits back in 2013. And they went through the planning commission process to get approvals for subdivision and PUD, but never followed through. And then we received complaints again. The city received complaints, and we found out that they had never gone through the permitting process as they were supposed to do from the 2013 approval, which is why they're back before you again. And they'll be given a certain amount of time to get their land disturbance permit and their building permits, et cetera. And if they don't comply again, then we may have to take them to court.
I would hope that we would be able to point that out to them, that, I mean, just in the process, that probably we already have.
We have.
But just so that after the fact, you know, the city knocking on the door saying, look, you know, you're not just cleaning up your building permitting issue, you're cleaning up your site plan also. I think it would be proactive for us to let them know that.
It also goes to, I think, as referenced in the staff report, they have stuff in the right-of-way now that includes parking and gravel. Let me go back to that. That extends beyond their property. And they do understand that that is going to have to be cleaned up as well. So we will be sure that they understand that everything on site will have to comply with the site plan that was submitted.
Their actions were not just for that building, the unpermitted building, but it's for the entire site that they've done. Perfect.
All right, folks, we have a motion by Mr. Hembry to approve, subject to staff recommendations, deleting item number 1 from the subdivision, item number 2 from the PUD, second by Ms. Latham. Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to item number 14. This is subdivision application and rezoning for the north side of Todd Acres Drive.
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Daves, second by Ms. Sessions. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a couple questions on this one. So in the staff report, it talks about, it says that the use that they want would actually be allowed in a B5. But it seems that because they're wanting to use is it the aggregate material? That the staff, had suggested that I1 might be appropriate because that's allowed by right. And I guess my question is, for the other commission members, is should we consider perhaps a B5 designation because that would be consistent with the desired use? And as I understand it, there's a mechanism that would allow them to request the use of aggregate. Is that right, Richard?
They'd have to
Correct,
go
they could apply
Board
to
of
the Board of
Adjustment.
Adjustment for a variance.
It just, to me, when I look at the kind of, the adjacent zoning, and considering the fact that what they want to use it for, it doesn't need to be an I1, that it might be a good idea to kind of have the lower level of use.
But then they'd have to prove a hardship, and in this case, what would be the hardship on them to have to go to the Board of Adjustments? I think, is that correct? I mean, only a variance can be granted by proving such, or?
That's said the property is under a hardship and cannot be used under the zoning classification is difficult or comes up. I mean, there have been variances granted for I1 uses along the service road, the Beltline service road for gravel, shell parking because of the use of heavy equipment. I think this is your lay down yard for steel, is that right? There's no guarantee that the Board of Adjustment would approve.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Ms. Andrews is opposed. We'll move, motion carries. We'll move to item number 15. This is subdivision application of PUD for 608, 610, 612, 614 Holcomb. Staff recommendation to hold to August 4th. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Amberger. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Go to item number 16. This is the subdivision PUD and rezoning for 102, 142 A and B, 150 West Drive. Staff recommendation to hold to August 4th. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daves. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 17 is subdivision and rezoning for 4297 Riviera du Chesne. Staff recommendations for approval. I think the applicant has requested 721 for a holdover for a meeting with the neighbors. I'll make a motion to hold to 721.
Second.
Second by Mr. Daves. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Last item is 18. This is subdivision and rezoning for 1151 Dolphin Street. Would point out the concern regarding item number 1 on the subdivision.
Move to approve, subject to staff recommendations with revision to item number 1, allowing a 25-foot setback.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Amberger, second by Ms. Latham. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Olson, any other business?
Not that I can think of today.
Well, we'd probably shoot you if you did think of something.
All right, before we, oh, you got one more, okay.
Yeah.
Don't do that. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.